Welcome to the Bookworm Bindery with Cathy-Lynn. Today we are doing a flip through and a tuck of ephemera into the custom fairy junk journal that I have been working on for the last month. And so here we are. Thanks for popping back in. If you have not seen 1 through 6, I believe, you can definitely go back and do that. There is a link just down below that will lead you to the first one, and then you can kind of run through that series if you'd like. So let's start with, it is close. It is a wide journal. It has 4 signatures. It has a ring on the top for the client to put a dangle or a tassel or whatever it is that she wants to put on. Oh, that is really wide. So we're going to start off with the fact that the journal does have a pocket at the front, and I've already put a few things in, and that has been done along the way. So you would see that if you go back and check other videos in this series. Not many. Okay, so we have some really pretty digital papers that were printed out, and then we just had some nice coloration pages. This particular page is fun because you can't see it very well. Maybe I can move it. Not very well. There, I used the glossy accents from Ranger, and there's little dewdrops on the rose and the leaves. You can feel them, I can see them, I just can't see them through the screen. So we have some pages that are plain, and then we have this beautiful picture. It was a pencil drawing, came out of the book, reaching for it now, called Irish Cures, Mystic Charms, and Superstitions by Lady Wilde. I have been taking sayings and some pictures out of the book, and this one was just too beautiful to pass up. Then we have a little pocket here, so let's just stick something in it. So there's a lot of little tags and cards and things that once the client has this in hand, that she can use to write in and tuck back into spaces. This one, for instance, could be taped on, or taped, probably not taped, glued onto this page, or any of the emptier pages, turned into a side-loading pocket, or if you had something really tall, could have a top-loading pocket. Could be cut out so that you have all those fun little mushrooms and things. So there's brown paper, and there's music paper, and there's printed paper, tissue paper. I love, no, this isn't tissue paper, it's tracing paper. I love using tracing paper. So if this is not the first journal that you've seen a flip through on, then I'm sure you're aware of that. And here's a nice belly band. Do I have something to put in a nice belly band? Nice pocket. I mean, sorry, an envelope. It's like a pay envelope. We'll tuck that in there. And just fun forest things and fairies. So this is the center of the first signature, and I did not cut off any of the threads that I sewed the signatures into the pages with, because then charms could be put on the bottom of those or not. So if you put, just for instance, if you were to stencil a fairy onto this particular page, especially if you were to do it on this side, it would soften her out just like it softens out the cottage and the garden. And then when you turned this page, you would see her against this dark background over here. So it's really cool. I love tracing paper. Okay, we have a bit of a pocket here. And I went through and counted, and I do not have many more pieces of ephemera to tuck in than I actually have tucks and pockets to put them in, belly bands. So I'm not loading up anybody particularly heavily because, ooh, this is this is actually just a pocket, and inside this particular pocket, there's a piece of paper for writing, and I think it's going to fit into this tuck. So yeah, let's put that there, because that's going to require something big. But then we have a smaller tuck here, so we'll put something like that there. We have an altered paper clip. Here's to cure a very stricken child. And I think I did look at this. We went over this one other day, but it also came out of the Irish book. And here is, I don't know if I can get anything. I don't know if I can get the same size guy in there. But we do have a top loading pocket. So look, we'll put that in. And then this was a really wide piece of paper, so I just folded it over. So this could be tucked or glued down to make a big pocket, or it could be left to be opened and then it could be written on. So fun things. I have top loading pockets here, as long as I have something tall enough that's actually going to show. No, that's going to disappear. Well, I guess we could do this. So I made this really pretty bookmark and put some pearl cotton as a tassel and a metal grommet. We'll put that in there. That's tall enough to be seen. Here's a clip of some taller things too. Here's a postcard. It's taller, but it's maybe too wide. That'll fit. There we go. A pocket could be put down here. That could look really nice. And then it could look like they are flying out of, I wouldn't use this, but something. Or, you know, a saying or a poem could be written down there. This was another wide piece of paper, legal size papers that got printed. And then some of them were cut off, but some of them were just folded over. So, this also is just print. So, a nice place to write a poem. Another wide piece. So this brown paper, this is the paper that comes in boxes from Amazon. I just iron it out. So the width of this is double this, and then I just cut it down to the height of paper, so that, you know, I've got more paper. There's no point in tossing it when we can use it. So we've got that top loading pocket, side loading pocket. This is a top loading pocket. And this was, I don't know, a really pretty printed digital. You know, it was like a downloaded digital that I got at some point along the way. And it has this lovely blue glow in the back, so I put a lovely little blue fairy stencil in. Here's another altered paper clip with bling and mushrooms and fairy wings. And slip her in. So there's plenty of blank pages that are ready to be used, to have things put on them. Some you may not want to do that with, but some of these are going to be great if you know, had a picture to put on it, or obviously could be written on. All right, let's look at this. So I have a small envelope, which I think will fit in here nicely. And then I have a side loading pocket here. Let's see, I just have a bunch of things to put in, so we'll just keep tucking. So the client has things that she wants to do with a fairy journal. This is an envelope. Does it have something in it? No. It is ready to be loaded up with secrets. So she wanted a lot of blank spaces, and so she has a lot of blank spaces, but she also has things that are kind of fun And of course, all of these things that I'm tucking in are things that she can use or not. Obviously, it's a choice. This is a fun one. It has a book page that actually is a dictionary, and it has fairy and fairyland and fairy rings and fairy tales. And so I grabbed that out of the dictionary, and I have lace pockets, and then I have side-loading pockets, which I'm not going to put anything in. They're quite deep, and I don't think I have anything big enough, and I'm going to run out of stuff to put in. But that's going to be a great place to put a letter or a rather private poem or just reflections on life, because we reflect on life a lot. Sometimes we just ignore ourselves, and sometimes we write things down. Here's a quote. This is out of a book of quotes. And I don't know if I have some. Yeah, I have something I can slip in here. I have that pocket. This is a bulb pin that has a couple of cute tags with fairy cottages and then little sayings about fairies, and then a tassel in an appropriate purple color. So then we have a pocket here, and we have a belly band here. So I took some this was porcelain dolls, Americana stuff, and then I had Americana butterflies, so I cut out the porcelain doll and then I gave her wings. And we're going to put her in here because this is a book of all kinds of fairies. We have smashed fairies. Well, that's not exactly what the book is called, but you know, the book that has I smashed the fairies in the pages book. It has beautiful art renderings. It has cutesy fairies. It has probably some dark and wicked fairies. This is not a corner tuck. This is a side-loading pocket. So we'll put some pretty flowers in. So flowers, because fairies hang out in gardens, and forests, because fairies hang out in forests. And we have a fairy gate, which when we open it up, we can see off into the distance on the other side of this wall. Sometimes there may be a fairy in here if you peek. Today, obviously, there's not. We have a tuck space here. This was another one of the makeshift fairies. Makeshift fairies, that sounds terrible. I'm sure she's thrilled to be a fairy now, where I used the Americana butterfly and put it on a turn of the century paper doll. And because she's flying, I have her flying up in the clouds in the sky. And we have a rose fairy. This needs to be glued in. I'm glad I left it there. This is a pocket that has some stenciling on it. This was left over from something farther in, and so I am going to get this glued in right now. So this is, let me grab a tool. This is a 1, 2, 3, and then when it's glued down in a U shape, a 4 pocket ensemble made out of book pages. From, I don't know what, it was a textbook. So we're going to glue this in. Because the glue is wet, I am not going to put anything in its, at least not in its back tuck. Bring it up a little bit just because I want to. Get it glued in. Okay. So, a nice bit of pressure along this edge, along the bottom, and then along this edge. And then once that's dry, it'll be safe to put something in. If I have anything left, I'll come back and maybe tuck a thing or two in. but I don't, this was a pretty late ad. I only made it up a couple of days ago. And I think I don't have enough stuff to put in. On the other hand, an advantage to pockets in a junk journal, whether they have stuff in them or not, is that as you collect your things that you're going to put in your journal, you have pockets to put them in so they don't get lost along the way. Glue all over the place here. And I actually wanted this so that it was tucked down inside a little bit, because I felt like that helps show off the fact that, yes, there is a pocket back here. Okay, so that one's done. And here's a page just waiting to have something done with it. The center of this, so we're in the third signature. And this is just a really pretty page. It has a nice place for writing. Again, thoughts, sayings, poems. Okay. And then this was a long piece of paper as well. So this is ready to be decorated. Can be left open so that it could be opened for writing in. Could be glued down to make a nice big pocket. And we have a nice pocket here, and we have a full page out of the Smashed Fairies book. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I also know my clientele, and I happen to know that this client will truly enjoy the stories. Here we have another Smashed Fairy. This one I made corner tucks so that it could be taken out, because the back, while it is trimmed slightly, there's still enough of the story that you can actually read it if you are interested in what happened on the 5th of some month in 1902. So that now can fit into this tuck, lays down nicely. But surprise, if you wanted hidden rhetoric here, you could certainly write something that people wouldn't necessarily notice. Now I'm going to take a quick minute. I'm almost done with this, but here's a piece of tracing paper. And I think, if this were mine, I guess I should say, I would take a pencil, or probably a coloring pencil, a really nice color pencil, and I would very carefully do some light outlining of detail. Her hand. It would bring this up through the semi-opaqueness of the tissue. But remember what we talked about on a previous page. When you lift this up, that outlining is there, and as you close this down, you now see her over here against this brown gridded background. Lattice work. I just think it's really cool. It may not be your cup of tea or anybody else's cup of tea, but I love it. So if nothing else, hopefully this gives you thoughts that say, I can be as artistic and weird as I want to be. Okay, so we have an envelope, which got did get decoupaged, but it did get collaged. And it has an envelope. I mean, it is an envelope. It has a letter that doesn't want to come out. And that letter is truly just called a card. I can't get it out. Oh, come on. Oh, it's not coming out because it's ever so lightly glued. All right, well, now that's taken care of. So this beautiful, beautiful piece of artwork that is part of my print shop computer program. And I made cards years ago, and there's a faint fade inside, and then my card information, 2005. But the great thing about cards like this is that you can then open them up and you have even more paper space to write on. And when I was selling these, as you can see, there's a fade on the inside. When I was selling these, I was selling them in packs of 5, and each envelope and letter came with a seal, which I could bend this and you could see that there's a round seal that would come up. This card envelope is now actually, let me move this over so you can see this this paper that was put over the plain part of the card, is now glued in. But this could be put into a different envelope if you wanted to use it. So there is that. And then on this page, and then here we have a tuck here. I'll put you in there because we can still see you. I have a place here. This is actually where I cut off the corners to make the corner tucks for that smashed fairy. A little saying from the quote book about, it's from Peter Pan. It's about when the first baby laugh, for the first time, the laugh broke into 1,000 pieces and they all went skipping about, and that was the beginning of fairies. And then, of course, the very famous, every time a child says, I don't believe in fairies, a little fairy somewhere falls down dead. And if you believe in fairies, clap your hands. This is a fun little tuck, and I don't have anything here to put in it, so I'll come back to it. Nice big side tuck here. It could be lost once it's in, so I'll turn it just a little bit so it sticks out. Oh, and that's the end of that. And then the fourth signature by request of the customer ordering this was to be lined paper. So this is lined paper. And then there's 2 tucks on the back. And I just have a few more of these little things tucked in. So I do have a couple of extra pictures. And I have 2 sayings about fairies. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to go back and I'm going to pull up the... these down. I'm going to pull up that series that I just did, and I'm going to tuck these in. So we'll start here with the shortest thing I have to tuck, and we'll put it in the bottom one. Each of these tucks are a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. So we'll stick these up on end, and I'll put these in the thumb notch so they can be found. And then she can tuck those or glue those wherever she wants them. So if you're still with me, thanks for staying through the end. I hope you've enjoyed this flip through and loading up of this journal. And if you are interested in the steps of putting it together, please go back and look at 1 through 6. And if you've enjoyed this video, hit the likes and come back and look for more content. If you have signed up already, then things are going to pop up. Make sure you, on the bell, make sure you hit the bell with the all filled in, the black inked bell. That gives you not only my new releases, but other people who have the same kind of, good grief, that got knocked over, the same kind of content. So it kind of opens the doors for a little bit more. And thank you very much for sticking around. I hope you have a lot of fun with your journals or papers or whatever it is your craft or interest is. Have a good one. Thanks.